As the calendar flips to February, the New York Jets have a head coach, they have a general manager in the building, and the rest of the coaching staff is really coming together. You know what that means? Draft season is here, and NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah has the Jets selecting an elite weapon at pick number 7. Is it the right pick? We'll break it down and much more, all coming up here on a Monday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Samini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Long.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, Monday, February 3rd, 2025. A lot to get into today, but before we do that, smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We greatly appreciate all your support here on the show. Like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by the NFL Draft. Let's get an exact subscriber count where we are right now, and we are... Right now, we are currently at 1,538 subscribers. We can do it. Let's get to 1,550 subscribers by the end of today's show. Greatly appreciate all of your support. I am your host, Connor Long. A lot to get into, but before we do that, don't forget about our membership raffle. We'll throw the leaderboard on. Down below. Here we go. All right, the prizes we're giving away this month include a Joe Klecko signed jersey, a Mark Gastineau signed jersey, a Bill Parcells signed photo, a free item from the merch store, and a channel emoji. So be sure to get in our February membership raffle. If you haven't already, any questions in the chat, throw them in. We'll be sure to get to those. If you want to call into the show, we'll get you up on the air. Click the pinned comment to do so. Before we get any further, before we get into our main topic of today's video, we got to go over to the chat. Our guy, Caden, moderator and channel member in the building. Caden, good to see you. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate your support, as always, here on the program. Our guy, King Jamie the Mad, whose team will be playing on Sunday at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. King Jamie in the chat. Great to see you here. As always, Caden says, I really want to see an offensive player get drafted at 7 or with a trade back in the first round. An offensive player is interesting because that could mean a lot of different things. That could mean Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, who we're going to get into today. That could potentially mean going back to the well with some trenches here, going after a Will Campbell, going after a Kelvin Banks. I would say the Jets' best bet, or Tent McMillan, I'd say is another name to look out for. Luther Burden, if the Jets really want to reach on a receiver. I'd say right now where I'm leaning is probably on the defensive side of the ball, but a lot of it depends who's on the board at 7, because the Jets are in a really interesting position at pick 7. I think a lot could happen before their pick. And quite frankly, as annoying as it sounds, I think there's a chance Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Tent McMillan, those 4 guys, I think the Jets should highly covet or all off the board by the time the Jets get on the clock. I think we should be rooting for a lot of quarterbacks to be selected in the top 10. So potentially, like I said, those 4 guys, those 5 guys, or off the board by the time the Jets get on the clock. Maybe a team who's looking for a quarterback wants to come up and trade with us for Jackson Dart. They want to get up in the order, and then we go back and get a haul. So obviously so much can change. We're here on February 3rd. The draft kicks off on April 24th. So much can change, but I'm leaning more towards the defensive side of the ball as of now, unless wide receiver Tedaroya McMillan from Arizona State is on the board. Guys, listen to Caden, like, share, and subscribe. Appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, the more you guys like the video, the more the YouTube algorithm puts it out. Share it, helps us grow. It's a great metric that YouTube likes to see. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys as always. Like I said, let's hit subscribe. I'll try to get to 1,550 subscribers by the end of today's show. That's the goal. Appreciate you. As always, 17 of you in the building here on YouTube. 20 likes. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Caden says, so you think this coaching staff will be completely finished by the end of the week? If I had to make a prediction, I would say yes. There's only a few spots left. Running backs coach is still vacant. There's only a handful. Run game coordinator is still vacant on the offensive side of the ball. Tight ends coach is another one. There's only like 3 or 4 spots that are still vacant. So if I had to make a prediction, yes, I think it is the coaching staff is completed by the end This week, our guy Alan in the building. Alan, good to see you in here. As always, Cooper Cup to the Patriots makes sense. He just announced that the Rams are gonna trade him. So he's certainly he's an interesting one. Um, I would I would really like him for the Jets. The problem is his contract right now. Where he stands from a contractual standpoint, he signed that crazy, I think, 3 years, 70, 80 something $1 million deal with the extension with the Rams, and the Jets don't really have that much cap room right now. I don't see him wanting to come to the Jets either way. I don't see the Rams trying to deal him to the Jets. I think he would be a perfect fit, but again, the concerns are his injury history. When he's on the field, he's one of the most consistent and one of the most well-performed wide receivers in all of NFL. The problem is him getting on the field. He's due for a $27 million cap hit next in 2025. So that's already a massive concern for a team that doesn't have a lot of cap room going into the offseason. So there are a few concerns here with Cooper Cup, but when he's on the field, I think he's an incredible player, and he's certainly very, very fun to watch. So Cooper Cup, I hope he has success. Where it's going to be interesting overall, though, Alan, where they trade him. Hello, test, test. Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Going once, going twice. Okay, you guys can hear me. Sorry, I had to switch over there. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you guys letting me know if something goes wrong. As always, you guys are the best. Appreciate you checking in and letting me know here. But yeah, I could see him staying in Cleveland. It's gonna be really interesting though, Wild Wave. Again, someone who's kind of been hidden in that Cleveland team who, yes, they were in the playoffs a few years ago. However, overall, they're a struggling franchise, just like the Jets. He goes to a team with a solid offense. Kind of reminds me of, Von Miller won. Von Miller had some success in Denver, but the situation with Von Miller right before he got traded to Buffalo. I mean, Myles Garrett on that defensive line in Buffalo would be very, very scary. A defensive line I don't want to play against twice a year for sure. Cuca Lake Jet fan in the house. Cuca Lake Jet fan, good to see you in the chat. As always, it would be nice to see if Muji is going to be more aggressive with trades and signings, unlike JD, who moves at a snail's pace. It's going to be super interesting to see what Muji does, especially because it's his first year. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. I can't see him orchestrating any like crazy draft day deals, and I don't think they're going to be ultra aggressive in free agency this year, just because I don't think they have enough cap room really to go out and make big splashes like we've seen out of them the past two off seasons. So if I had to give some advice to Jet fans, don't expect that many huge splashes in free agency here. Alan says, Connor, how do you see Graham, Tet, Will Johnson, and Carter all being off the board? I don't. Mason Graham, I think, would make a lot of sense for the Jaguars. They want to go that route. Will Johnson's interesting. I think he can go a lot of different places. I think Abdul Carter's going to the Browns. Tet, the Raiders are going to be a really, really interesting team to watch. Is Shadur off the board by then? If Shadur is off the board by the time the Raiders get on the clock at pick 6, I think they're taking Tet McMillan, so there's certainly a chance. And Will Johnson, let me just pull up the exact NFL draft order here so I have every team. Will Johnson, I could see maybe if they want to. Here's the thing. Travis Hunter, what position he is going to play at the NFL level is such a big question. That is the massive issue here. If the Patriots are really trying to find a lockdown cornerback, which we don't know what the plan with Travis Hunter is, they could potentially. I could see a world where maybe they bring Will Johnson as their pick in the top 5. So I think there is a scenario where all of those guys could be off the board at any point. That's where I am right now in the draft order. Kaden says Cooper Cup for a fifth. Cooper Cup for a fourth round Cooper Cup for a fourth round pick. Sign me up 7 days a week, 24/7. I would give up a third for Cooper Cup. I would potentially even give up a second. I'm really, really high on Cooper Cup, but again, problem is if he's gonna come here, he has to be willing to restructure his entire contract because it is a mess right now. The money that he is owed next season. Our guy Jeffrey R in the building. Jeffrey, good to see you in the chat. Appreciate you as always. Caden says Michael Williams is the third best D in the draft. Oh, Rod said Michael Williams at Jets number 7. There would be a few edges I would take over Mike Hill. I would take Mike Green for Marshall over Mike Williams. I think Marshall Green is just such an electrifying guy to watch off the edge. Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M is another interesting one. Wasn't the most productive edge guy in all college football at A&M. However, he has the intangibles to be a really, really solid edge rusher at the NFL level. He has the traits to do so. I would take Shamar Stewart and I would take Mike Green before I take Michael Williams. I know Mel Kiper has had the Jets linked to Michael Williams. He's mocked the Jets drafting him before, so who knows what the Jets are gonna do here. The Jets always pull some crazy tactic, whether it's the draft, free agency every year. So who knows what's gonna happen. Jeffrey asks, who's the player the Jets are pursuing? I missed it. Jeffrey, we're getting into that shortly here, so stay tuned. If you guys want to call in the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. We'll get to your calls in a little. Any questions in the chat, throw them in. We will be sure to get to those. Here we go. Before we go into we're going to go into the player the Jets are expected to pursue, according to Daniel Jeremiah. He mocked the Jets drafting this player, and then we'll get back to your questions. We'll start with this one, though. Do you think Muji and Glenn finish going over film this season because they haven't cut Clemens yet? Who knows? Who knows what Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn are doing? I mean, apparently Aaron Rodgers, Adam Schefter spoke on the Pat McAfee show today, and he said, a lot of people, this is a point I've made recently, a lot of people are just assuming that Aaron Glenn wants to come back. A lot of people, Aaron Rodgers coming back. Aaron Rodgers coming back. It's a matter if the Jets want him. Adam Schefter made it crystal clear that there's a chance that Aaron Rodgers might not even want the Jets. So I want a decision to be made sooner rather than later. I know you're talking about Clemens here being done watching the film. I want them to finish watching the film, though, quickly, and I want them to make a decision on Aaron Rodgers before the NFL Combine. I think you have to make a decision before the end of February on whether you are keeping Aaron Rodgers or not next season. So that's where I am. In the whole Rodgers situation, smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Appreciate all your support. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by the draft, 3,000 by the start of the 2025 regular season. We are 2 away from 1,540 subscribers, so please, please, please hit the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, completely free. Helps us grow significantly. That's the free way. Paid way to support the show. Gift memberships, our membership raffle this month. Joe Klecko signed jersey, Mark Gastineau signed jersey, Bill Parcells signed photo, free item from the merch store, channel emoji. Be sure to get on that if you haven't already. Add to some of your tickets if you are already in. But let's get to the player that is the Jets predicted to draft. Daniel Jeremiah released his mock draft, and it's been a familiar pattern with this player, an offensive weapon. That's what I'm going to say. So a lot of people have been mocking this player to the Jets over the past few days. He's certainly an interesting one. Plays the same position as Brock Bowers, the Bauer boys, who were on top of the draft season last year. And it's Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Warren, I'm interested to see what you guys have to say here on Tyler Warren. Would you be in on the Jets potentially taking a bit of a reach and drafting him at pick 7 or not? It's certainly an interesting one because they passed on Brock Bowers at pick 10 last year, but now they have a chance to legitimately draft a tight end in the top 10 for the second year in a row in Tyler Warren. Now, Tyler Warren is a very, very, very interesting player, whether it's his numbers, whether it's his size, everything. Tyler Warren is a super fascinating guy. I mean, he's 6'6", 220, 22 years old, 45 receptions, 650 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Last season, he was on the first team all Big Ten. Here's some of the notes I have on him after watching a few of his games. Very complete. I really like his size, his build, 6'6", 260. I think is a great build for a tight end in the NFL. Great athleticism, and he's great receiving skills. He really is a nightmare for opposing defenses. He is really a nightmare for opposing defenses. Do I like him at pick 7? He would be an okay pick for me. I would the scenario where I would really, really like a Tyler Warren pick is you trade back, you get a haul. Maybe you trade back to pick 12, pick 13. Then you take Tyler Warren. I'm just not completely. Again, a lot of it, the big deciding factor for me, if the Jets are going to pick Tyler Warren or not, the main thing here is who else is on the board? Who else is on the board when you are considering drafting a tight end in Tyler Warren? So that is the one concern I have. Who's on the board? If it's like Tyler Warren, Will Johnson, and Ashton Genty, I'm probably taking Will Johnson. The only scenario, quite honestly, I would take Tyler Warren is Ted McMillan, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Will Johnson are all off the board. Which, again, there's a path for that to happen. It is unlikely, but if that happens, that might be the only scenario where I would take Tyler Warren at 7. And before I make that move, I'm still exploring a trade back. So again, Daniel Jeremiah predicts the Jets to draft Tyler Warren now with the seventh overall pick in the draft here. Again, don't particularly love it at 7, but if you could trade back, get a haul, and he's there, you're talking about midway through pick 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, then I'd consider it, but not at 7 right now. I would not particularly consider the Jets selecting Tyler Warren. Here at pick 7, I appreciate you all tuning in. Jeffrey R., the absolute legend, comes in with 20 gifted memberships. We'll give him a Jets chant. Yes, Jeffrey, thank you so much for the 20 gifted memberships. It looks like some of them expired, so we have 20 names to read, for which feels like the first time in forever. Franklin Fung, Sco, DeAndre Vega, AJ, Luppy, NY Jets FL, our guy Ted, Will M, Gangrene Catskills, Stephen T, our guy Greenbean got a membership, Edward Ariza, Joshua Langley, Mr. Business, Orlando GNYJ, Tony DeFilippo Jr., Orlando Vega, Forgive Green XN, Infrared Jets fan, Pete Barbario, and our guy DB94, all members. Thanks to Jeffrey R. Jeffrey R., appreciate you as always. That is, what is that? That's 20 more raffle tickets for you. I put the ticker off so you guys could see the banner here for now, but that is 80 raffle tickets for you, Jeffrey. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you tuning in as always. Here on the show, Jeffrey R. in the way with 80 gifted memberships in our February membership raffle after winning the Nick Mangold signed jersey. Appreciate you as always. So that's where I stand right now on this whole Tyler Warren at pick 7 scenario. That's where I am. I want to hear your thoughts in the chat again. If it depends really overall who's on the board. Ideally, I do not want to select a tight end at pick 7 here in the NFL draft, especially Tyler Warren. This is not to say this was my whole thing with Brock Bowers. I didn't want Brock Bowers at pick 10. I wanted Olu Fashanu at pick 10 last year. Didn't go back to my whole thing. I'm not saying he's a bad football player, and I understand tight end is a need. However, I think that's a bit of a reach for a player like Warren. And it all goes back, though. It depends who's on the board. I would take Will Johnson over Tyler Warren. While tight end, I think, is more of a pressing need from like I think the Jets are going to need 2 to 3 new tight ends. 2 to 3 new tight ends next season. However, I think finding someone who you could pair with Sauce Gardner to be that cornerback too is super important. Will Johnson, Mason Graham, the best run stuffer in this year's draft. Stopping the run was a massive issue for the Jets last year. Address that. Ted McMillan, the wide receiver room, is a massive question mark entering next year. Generational hands. Some of the best body control you will ever see. So, again, Tyler Warren with a trade back I'm okay with, but not at 7 particularly. So, that's where I am with Tyler Warren. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Appreciate you tuning in. As always, smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Throw all your questions, comments in here. We'll be sure to get to those. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. We will take your calls as well. Where are we? Caden says, can we see Warren's PFF grade? Sure, stand by. I'll get up his PFF page here. Tyler Warren PFF. It's gonna be. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't looked too deep. I'm trying to. I like the analytics, and all you guys know I love PFF, but I've been trying to watch a lot of the film as well to kind of see. Gotta kind of get a balance here. For some reason, it's gonna make me enter a mock draft simulator to see. I'll just click the Panthers or whatever. It's gonna make me enter a mock draft here. Okay, here it is. Here's Tyler Warren's PFF player profile. For those interesting, we'll zoom in to make sure you guys can see that. Wait, sorry, stand by. With the banners and everything. Okay, here we go. You should be able to see it now. Okay, run blocking grade isn't too impressive. Receiving grade's very, very high. highly graded in some of these games. Thing I like really interesting, like these are the three metrics I want to focus on. He ranks the highest in three. Missed tackles force. We need an elusive. We really need an elusive tight end here. Like I love Tyler Conklin and all, but though he's gonna beat you with his big body. Tyler Warren is able to beat you with his big body. You see, 13 contested catches, ranked third in college football last year. But again, he's able to force missed tackles. That goes back to my original point of him being a nightmare for opposing defenses. So this is a very, very impressive page. But again, let's go back to the point. Do you really want to select a tight end at pick 7? I understand PFF's not the Bible. I'm not the one. I'm going to be clear. I'm not the one who just people wanted it, so I'm pulling it up. I'm not even going to lie. I don't think I've ever seen his PFF player profile before. I'm going strictly based on what I've seen on film. I've been leaning more towards the eye test as of late. So that is his. That's Tyler Warren's Pro Football Focus profile for those who are more interested in the analytics side of things while balancing the eye test as well. Let me know if you guys want to see anything else regarding Tyler Warren, but that is his PFF player profile. Again, 3 questions, comments, thoughts here. Tyler Warren, all things New York Jets. We'll get to that. Where were we? Where were we in the chat? Caden, need to trade back and first. You can trade up into first at pick 32 and get Xavier Watts. Pick 32 for Xavier Watts is pretty high. I think the Jets have the 43rd overall pick. I have a pretty good feeling Xavier Watts is going to be there. So I don't think there's any point in trying to trade back to get Xavier Watts if you're eyeing him as your player. Let's go with Will Johnson at 7, please. Hey, I'm big on Will Johnson. I think he's a great cornerback, very athletic. Really like his size. I think he's someone you could certainly pair with Sauce Gardner to be that CB2 next season with DJ Reed, most likely walking in free agency. Swamp Ranger in the house. Swamp, appreciate you tuning in. As always, I think I'd take Warren over Graham just due to the depth at the defensive tackle position in this draft. I understand. I think that's a good point. There's a lot of depth in the defensive tackle draft. But again, let's look at ourselves and say, what is a more pressing need? Tight end's very important. I want Tyler Conklin back on a 1-year, $5 million deal. There's a lot of tight ends the Jets should covet in free agency. But stopping the run, beefing up the interior of the defensive line, I think is very, very important. And you have that someone like Mason Graham, who doesn't have the best technique in the world, but he's the best run stuffer in the country. He's someone I think you could plug right into Quinn Williams. This defensive line was completely decimated last season. I would take Mason Graham over him. I think he's more of a need, and I just think he's a better player overall at his respective position. So I'm in the boat of no tight end at 7. Cute, Jeff. I don't see anyone trading a haul to get to 7. Let's start his pictures of all the GMs and owners at Diddy parties. Hey, Jackson Dart, he's someone he continues to skyrocket off these boards. People like him as a top 10 pick. As Jet fans, we should hope Jackson Dart is a top 10 pick and he's highly coveted because that means the Jets could potentially trade back and get a haul. But again, the massive question for sure, Cuco Lake, is you could talk about, you want to trade back, but you need to find someone to trade with. And if Jackson Dart is not going to be a top 10 pick, which I don't think he should be. I think he's a second-round talent, or somehow Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders go on this meteoric fall in the draft order and fall on draft day. Something happens a week before the draft, something like that. Then I think that's a good scenario. But the main question is, who are you trading up for if those guys who are expected to be off the board are, most importantly, the 2 quarterbacks, and Shedeur and Cam, and Jackson Dart is a second-round pick. Sco, we need cornerbacks and safeties, and I think you meant to say and wide receivers. Cornerbacks, Brendan Eccles, I think should come back on a nice 3-year deal. I don't trust him to be, I don't trust him to be a CB2. That's why I like Will Johnson as the 7th overall pick as a potential name to look for. I'm gonna miss his last name. Azarea, I think is how you say his name, Thomas, the cornerback at FSU, had a great week down in Mobile. He's someone who Dom sees very high in cornerback at Florida State, a name to watch in the 2nd or 3rd round. Safeties is a position group I've talked about as a need for months on end now. I think you're going to need 4 new safeties. next season. A few names to watch at the safety position: Xavier Watts, Malachi Starks from Georgia. There's going to be talks about the Jets potentially taking him at 7. I love him, but let's keep in mind safety at 7, similar to tight end at 7, is a bit of a reach. However, safety is one of the most pressing needs here. When we look at it, I think that safety is the Jets one of the Jets' biggest issues as they enter the offseason here. One of the most pressing issues I think they're going to need to address quickly here. R.J. Mickens, son of Ray Mickens, in the 5th round. The safety is certainly a name to look at. A lot of names here as we look at all these prospects here in the beginning of February. Still have so much time. Our guy Jets Commute Petey in the building. Be sure to go ahead and give him a sub. I think the Jets could go wide receiver at 7. The problem is, who's that wide receiver? Petey, I think the only wide receiver I could see the Jets taking at 7, rightfully so, is Tedoroya McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. I don't want Luther Burden, Luther Burden, excuse me, I'm still learning the names here, from Missouri there. I don't want, again, I'm going to mispronounce this guy's name again, the wide receiver from Ohio State, Agupa, however you say his last name. Only wide receiver I would really want to take at pick 7 is Tedoroya McMillan, T-Mac, as the nickname he's beginning to garner. King Jamie the Mad in the house. Last season, Warren had 104 receptions for 1,233 yards. The kid is big and fast and strong and blocks okay. I agree. The problem is, again, let's keep in mind, tight end at 7 seems like a bit of a reach when you have a lot of needs on defense. For example, edge rushers, bringing in an interior guy, a stout interior guy, potentially Mason Graham. I still want to continue to build this wide receiver core through the draft. Devontae Adams might be here next season, but he's not a part of their future plans. I want to build this team through the draft while still having some, veteran blood in the building. So a lot of positions, really, the Jets are going to need to fill next season with not a ton of cap room. That's what I've been saying. I think next year's season goes deeper than just the record. They might win 6 games, but you notice a culture change. I think that's a massive step in the right direction because the Jets, I know a lot of things are like, well, with good coaching, they're 12-5 last year. The Jets have a lot of needs they're going to need to fill in free agency with not a lot of cap room. Where are we? Swamp Ranger, best player available on offense at 7, DT round 2, DT round 2, safety or cornerback round 3. Will Howard is there in round 4, pulling the trigger on him. Couldn't agree more, Swamp, on pulling the trigger on Will Howard if he's there in round 4. I would not take him in the 3rd round. Cornerback or safety in round 3 is kind of interesting. Round 3, the direction I'm looking in round 3 is kind of a tight end direction. Really, that's where I'm going to look for a tight end in Elijah Arroyo, Harold Fannin Jr. at the top of the 3rd round there. So I'm more so looking at tight ends in the 3rd round just because of the overall positional value. 2nd round is a great round to look for safeties or cornerbacks, the defensive backs overall. Defensive tackles, I'd wait towards the later round. There's some really, really nice defensive tackles. Tonka Hemingway is someone who I think is being slept on, guys. He's being talked about as a 6th, 7th round name. I think he has the potential to come in. He's a great run stuffer and make a huge impact down at the Shrine Bowl. Really liked what I saw out of him. Safety in round 2, I really like Xavier Watts. Some other players to watch in round 2, Jahad Campbell, the linebacker, Gray Zabel, the tackle, who really just impressed everyone in down in Mobile. Made a huge impact right away. So those are the names I'm looking out for as of now. Billy SBC in the building. I would bring Conklin back 1,000%. I want him back 1 year, $5 million. Something on a deal, something like that. I would love Tyler Conklin back on this team for sure. Jeffrey, I like Kyle McCord over Dart. I wouldn't say I like him over Dart. I would take Kyle McCord in the 4th round, though. Reminds me a lot of Jared Goff. Pocket passer. He's 6'4", I think 220, something like that. So a nice build for a quarterback. Grew up rooting for the Jets. That's why he wears number 6, because of Mark Sanchez. Believe it or not. The athleticism could use some work. Makes a lot of poor decisions under pressure, which isn't too impressive. But again, Kyle McCord, we're not talking about him coming in and starting for the Jets. We're talking about him coming in and being a backup, potentially a 3rd string next season. So that's where I am on Kyle McCord. I wouldn't take him over Jackson Dart, though. Wade Wilson in the building. How high is the tight end from Miami? Ranked Elijah Arroyo. Honestly, he wasn't ranked that high before down in the Senior Bowl. 250 pounds. I really like his size, his athleticism. Had a great senior year, impressed. The one concern is he came off a massive injury. That's why a lot of people weren't too high on him. I think right now a lot of the guys have him going late third round, mid to late third round, I think is the pulse on Elijah Arroyo, tight end out of Miami. Allen J. Higgins, round 5. Higgins impressed down in Mobile. You're talking about Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa. That's the name I'm thinking of right away here. Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa. Iowa State, whatever it is. One of the Iowa schools. I think he might go higher than the 5th round from what he showed. I think you're looking at him as a 3rd round guy here. I think you're looking at Jaden Higgins. Jalen Noel is another name from one of the Iowa schools to look at. I think these are both 3rd round guys we're talking about here. Billy says I think $5 million for Conklin is a bit light. Might do for 7.5 though. 7.5 in that same range. I'd do it. Talking about $2 million guaranteed, something like this. Something like that. Jimmy, the average tight end salary is $8 million. Top tight end gets 17. I'd say Conklin is slightly below average here, so I'd say you're looking at 7.5. I guess that makes sense. Kind of Billy's comment, what she said there. Allen says not Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. He's going in round 2. Yeah, round 2 or 3 is what I said there. Jay Higgins is the linebacker from my Hawkeyes. I'm going to be honest, Alan. I haven't done too much digging on Jay Higgins, the linebacker from your Hawkeyes. Is a 5th round pick. I haven't gone into the linebackers. I've watched a lot of the 1st round guys, and I've watched a lot of the quarterbacks. Those are the guys I've watched most, and guys who are seem like they could potentially go to the Jets. I.e., a lot of the safeties, a lot of the cornerbacks, stuff like that. Swamp Ranger, who is the safety and tight end from Iowa? The tight end is Luke Lakely? Alan, correct me here how you say his name, and then Sebastian Castro is the safety. Lakely, however you say his last name again. Still working on the names here. A lot of hard names in this year's draft class. I think when we did the mock, he was there in the 5th round. I would take him in the 5th round. There are a lot of tight ends. I really like in this year's draft. Harold Fannin, Tyler Warren is certainly a name to watch up on the screen. We're talking about him right now. So Fannin, Warren, Elijah Arroyo, Luke Lakely, Gadsden, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Hunter Gadsden, the tight end from Syracuse, is another name to watch on as a day 3 pick. So a lot of names here. Allen, when it comes in with spelling, Sebastian Castro, safety from Iowa, top 75 pick. Luke Lachey. That's what I'm going to say. Luke Lachey. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Thanks to Alan. Alan, appreciate it. Billy, I would try not to overwhelm this new staff. Give them a shot at the playoffs in year 1. Run the offense back. Build a solid defense. Should get us in the playoffs this year. I think there are going to be a lot of pieces, though, you're going to really need to add on the in the secondary. The secondary, a lot of the safeties. You still need to add some defensive line pieces. A lot of guys on expiring deals. A lot of spots you're going to need to fill. This team could certainly go to the playoffs, though. Why not? Coaching is the main difference last year from 12-5 and 5-12. So nothing tells me this team can't go to the playoffs next season with a legit coach, and the penalties are taken down. Swamp Raider says Jalen Mills was serviceable. He's coming off an injury that he suffered, missed the last 5 games. I'm telling you, he is not a top 32 safety in the NFL. He really isn't. I take him maybe as the 3rd safety. Nothing higher than that. Caden says, do you see the Jets taking Shedeur at 7 if he's there? Good question. I wouldn't if I'm Darren Muji. I'd trade back and get as much as you can. For sure. I don't think he's making it past Vegas and all those teams that need quarterbacks. But if he's there, find a team that needs a quarterback and they give you the house, you got to trade back. Jimmy makes a good point. Gunnar Helm, tight end to keep an eye on. Gunnar Helm, tight end from Texas is a name to watch. I've Jihad Barron is another guy from Texas, another Longhorn to look out for, the cornerback. A lot of good players coming out of Texas, the Longhorns, in this year's draft. Billy, please get us a kicker in like the 6th round. This 7th rounder, who might go undrafted, Ryan Fitzgerald, Billy, kicker out of FSU. I think his long was 59 yards. Didn't miss a field goal, didn't miss an extra point. in every single game. In all 2024, 2025, did not miss an extra point, did not miss a kick in general. So a lot to like in Ryan Fitzgerald, kicker out of FSU. Allen, Warren at 7 is passable if Carter, McMillan, and Graham are all gone. I don't see the Jets drafting Johnson or Campbell at 7. I don't see them drafting Campbell at 7. I really like him. People are saying, I heard someone say guard. I think it was Trevor Sikkema said guard or potentially even center for Will Campbell at the next level. He provides some interior offensive line help, I guess, if you want to go there. He has a lot of experience at tackle. I wouldn't draft Will Campbell. I don't know why people wouldn't consider drafting Will Johnson at 7 if he's on the board and Carter, McMillan, and Graham are all gone. I mean, this team needs a legit cornerback too next season. Like I said, I want Brandon Echols back on a nice 3-year deal. However, is he ready to come in and replace DJ Reed on the outside? I don't think so. I don't think that's who Will Johnson is. Not Will Johnson. Brandon Echols is, excuse me, as a cornerback, as that top boundary guy at the NFL level. King Jamie, I want to keep Justin Reed, number 20. He's a free agent this year, and I really love that one. Hell, he can really kick good, too. Yeah, King Jamie and Madden. He's actually their kickoff specialist as well, which is pretty fun. I was playing some Madden the other day, and he's actually their kickoff specialist, which is a crazy thing. He's a free agent, certainly one I'd want to covet. He was drafted by the Texans a few years ago. Love Justin Reed. Justin Reed, excuse me. Another name to look out for, Javon Holland. He's a free agent, another safety to look for. Last year's safety class in free agency was stacked, absolutely stacked, and the Jets didn't even sign one safety who was legit. I mean, they re-signed Ashton Davis. They didn't go after any of the legit All-Pro Pro Bowl guys there though. So I would love Justin Reed, Javon Holland names to watch this offseason. Swamper Andrew, I hear there's a tackle from Boston College who's a monster, currently a 5th, 6th-round projection. Ozzie Trapillo is the only tackle I'm too familiar with from Boston College. I think he's a 3rd-round pick. Are you talking about defensive tackle? Cam Horsley? Hensley or Horsley is how you say his last name. A defensive tackle out of Boston. But clarify here, are you talking about offensive or defensive tackle? All right, if you have any questions, we're going to wrap up here soon. Throw them in the chat. Appreciate your support. As always, smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Please, free way to contribute. Again, please, please, please hit subscribe. So close to 2,000 subscribers. Help us get there completely free. Helps us grow significantly. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. Let's go over to the phone lines. Our guy, King Jamie the Mad, our fellow Chiefs fan in the building. King Jamie, I'm trying to – here we go. You're on the screen. How you doing, King Jamie?
Hey, buddy. Can you hear me good?
I got you loud and clear.
Nice. Okay, so we were just talking about Justin Reed, and
Yep.
I was looking it up, and Pro Football Focus says he's the 8th best available safety in the free agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's absurd, man. This guy is
I'm with you.
probably one of the most athletic kids I've ever seen play football. And he can kick 45, 50 yarders. Like, right? He did kickoffs. He did punts. I mean, goodness, this kid is, the way his body's built and stuff, man, it's pretty impressive. The kid is just one hell of an athlete. And he's like $13 million to keep him. I want to keep him. I don't want to have to lose DeAndre Hopkins, who's like 10.5 mil.
Yep.
Something like that, right?
So, about 11 million, yeah, something.
11 million, yeah, okay. So I don't want to lose Hopkins because I watched what the greatest receiver in our time right now, DeAndre Hopkins, over the last 12 years, the greatest receiver in football.
Agreed.
I watched what he did with Worthy because at the beginning of the year, Xavier Worthy was mediocre. He was afraid to go get that ball. But then we brought in DeAndre Hopkins, and there was almost, in 3 weeks, a complete change. So I was wondering if you guys are going to draft some young guys and keep Devontae Adams and give him some rookies to play with.
King Jamie, I think a lot of it depends on their decision with Aaron Rodgers. I think Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers are pretty much connected in a sense. My whole thing, though, even if they keep Devontae Adams, I still think they should draft a receiver, add a body or two in free agency, because not only is the position room pretty thin, I don't think I don't think Xavier Gibson is an NFL receiver. Malachi Corley, well, we haven't seen much out of him. It's going to be interesting.
Wait a minute. He made it to the show.
Okay, he made it to the shot again.
That's an NFL receiver, bro. Like that's
I
better
I'm saying I don't think he's a washable. I don't
and
think
I
he's
played
a.
football.
I don't think he's a good football player. Anyone who makes it to the NFL is a good football player. I'm just saying I do not think he is a rosterable receiver in the NFL, let alone being your wide receiver for an NFL roster. I don't think he's again.
Is some of that to blame on the Jets because they've never developed anybody?
Agreed, but I don't think Xavier Gibson particularly has the skill set. I think if he's to make an impact, it's in the punt return game. Yes, he had that unforgettable return kick on 9/11, but he hasn't done anything since. The size, he's very, very small, 5'8", 5'9", something.
So like a Nico Remigio, or if he bulked up like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and try to run the ball with him or something. Probably better on a pitch, right?
Yeah.
So if you pitch it out where he can get the ball and then he can see who's going to try to smash him, he can outrun those guys.
The RPOs,
but if you put him
but
in traffic, he's worried or something. Is that what you're saying?
He can't hold on to the football, doesn't have great hands, can't finish through contact. The size is the massive concern. I think if you want to go with the gadget player, you mentioned running those screens, those pitches, you have that in Malachi Corley. It's going to be really interesting, King Jamie, to see how they utilize Malachi Corley, because Tanner Engstrand, who was obviously former Lions pass game coordinator, you saw what the Lions did this past season with what's his name, Jameson Williams, the way they utilized him on those RPOs, those screens to get him unlocked and make him a top receiver in this league. I'm wondering if they could do that if Tanner Engstrand could help facilitate that for Malachi Corley, just because Corley and Jameson Williams have the similar skill set of being that gadget player type. Yak machines. Malachi Corley nicknamed the Yak King. Back to my original point, though, Devontae Adams coming back. Even if he comes back, I still want to build this wide receiver room through the draft, through free agency, bringing in younger pieces. Because if he is here, I think it is only for one more season, and he's going to have to restructure his deal if he wants any chance in coming back and being a part of this next year.
I was just thinking about that because of what a wonderful job that DeAndre Hopkins did. Literally taking a new kid and saying, this is how you become great. You know, it'd be like having Randy Moss in your ear. You know what I'm saying? And so, and Adams, he's one of the big boys, right? So having a guy like that to talk in the kid's ear. I'm a big fan of having 6 really well-paid vets around to train all these goddamn kids, right? Because to me, they're just kids, bro. They're not much older than you, and they're coming into the NFL. And
Franklin Allen's only 6 years older than me.
That's what I'm saying, man. They're kids, bro. They're kids to me. I mean, my time would have been 40 years ago, right? I was your age about 40 years ago, I think. So
yeah,
I see these kids come in, and I think, gosh, wouldn't it be nice to have somebody start developing them? And I see Glenn bringing in a bunch of guys, like guys that have been there and know, and they can develop kids. And so maybe this was the change I've been waiting to see on the Jets for this whole time, bro, because if you guys can learn how to develop them, you can use anybody in any draft. And that's what the Chiefs have had to do for 6 years now. Is use just the worst picks you could probably get, or you have to trade up and lose out next year, you know. And I mean, there's so much finagling that goes on with these GMs, and I see that you guys got a good GM.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's part of the key, man. This big giant key with like 19 pieces can turn that lock, you know. And hopefully you guys can draft a quarterback, put it in a contract where Aaron Rodgers has to show up if he's going to stay, right? Show up, man. Get to know your guys, bro. What the fuck are you doing, Aaron Rodgers? You know, what the fuck are you doing, Aaron? Good God, I'm I'm a guy that has to keep guys working. And if they're not working, my company's not making money and I don't get to go on a cruise. You know, I don't get to be a fat American tourist somewhere. And so get off your dead ass, stop being a fat American tourist, get your ass home, go to work when it's time to work. You had how many
If he's
months
there.
off? You know? Like this is what I would put in his contract. If you miss a day of practice, that's $1 million.
I don't even think they can do that with the. He's going to be sued anyways. Not sued, fined, whatever it is, by the NFLPA if he misses the training camp. Mini camp.
Ah,
Again, I think this is all nipped in the butt by a conversation with Aaron Glenn. I think Aaron Glenn sits him down and says, "Hey, if you want to be here, there's a new sheriff in town. This is not your team anymore."
Aaron Glenn is a working man. Okay, so he's been in businesses in the real world like me. And so, yeah, you can tell who your good employees are. So, boys better buckle down because Aaron's not going to let shit get along like it has used to be. And I don't care if you guys are depressed. It's New Jersey. Fuck yeah, it's depressing. You know, it rains a lot, bro. I've been there. You know,
King Jimmy, I appreciate you calling in
you.
as always. Appreciate your support on the show. You got any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are: I really hope to see what I expect to see out of Aaron Glenn. But most of all, I hope you guys to rally behind him and give him a year or two because he's going to clean house. You got 31.5 million cap space. You could get Khalil Mack. You know, I mean, you could get DeAndre Hopkins. You could change that shit around. Hopkins will catch everything that Rodgers throws.
Mm-hmm.
Adams wasn't one of the Randy Moss or Jerry Rice, the greatest.
He was this century.
DeAndre is, you know.
Devontae Adams certainly was a great receiver this century.
He was great, but he let emotions drive his game. DeAndre Hopkins went to work because that's just what he does, man. He just goes to work, and he does a really good job when he goes there. Adams let emotions drive his career so far. So, I don't know, maybe trade that one off. Then I can keep Justin Reed.
King Jamie, appreciate you checking in, ladies and gentlemen. Chief says King Jamie the Mad checking in here on the show. One of our many, I don't even know the word, opposing teams, if you even want to call them that, fans of opposing teams. King Jamie with the Chiefs, SW Lion and David D with the Lions. We have a few Bills fans. We have DB94, our Broncos fans. So a lot of fans of opposing teams here. Appreciate you all tuning in. Last chance to get your questions in. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. Please, please, please check and see if you are subscribed to the channel. We are trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. Free way to contribute to the show. Helps us so much. Please check below if you are subscribed and hit subscribe. And also, one more thing I wanted to let you know about the membership raffle. I know if you haven't already, turn on gift receipts so more of you can turn on receive memberships in your YouTube settings. And also, some of you who can't give memberships on iPhones, every $2.99 super chat will get you a raffle ticket as well to do so. I appreciate you. As always, let's go back to the phone lines. Our guy, Lay Sal, is joining us here on the program. Lay Sal, how you doing, my friend? Lay Sal? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? I hear myself. I hear the echo. You got me? Hello, hello? Lisa, I'll call back in when you have proper service here. We'll get you back up on the air. Appreciate you calling in here as always. Like I said, last chance to get your thoughts in the chat. Last chance to call into the show if you would like to. I appreciate your support. As always, 50-minute show in the books. Another day, another show. We're trying to go daily here. You guys are the ones who keep it going, so I appreciate you guys. I can't thank you enough for all your support. As always, 24 of you in the building. You're on YouTube. Smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You guys are the best listeners in the world. What do you guys want to see the Jets do at 7? What do you guys want to see the Jets do at 7? Throw it in the chat. Alan says excited to call in 7 months, but Connor will be too big by then. LOL. No, Alan, I will always remember you. My first caller ever here on the first caller ever here on NY Flight Jets Talk, and also one of our first subscribers. So Alan, you're the goat. I will always remember with you. Always remember you. Oh, Sko comes in. The Nets and Lakers are working on a trade with Nick Claxton. Let me pull this up. I'm going to the Nets game on Friday. So let me get my facts straight here. Nick Claxton on Twitter. Let's see what's happening with Nick Claxton quickly. All right, someone wrote in the private chat. Lay Sal responded. I'm here now, so we'll go to Lay Sal before we wrap up here on the show. Lay Sal, you there?
Hello? Yeah, hello? Hello? Sorry, I was just talking to my family or whatever, so.
Oh, you're all good. You're all good. Great to have you on the show. What are you feeling right now? The draft? Any coaching news you want to hit on? What are you feeling right now?
I'll first talk about the draft because here's the thing, like, I've been pro trade back, but I will say this. I'm trade back, but I don't care if we get a quarterback. Because you could be like, oh, the quarterbacks in this draft class are not very good. Not very good. But the reason why I like trading back is because we know quarterbacks in next year's draft are going to be even better. So I'm like, whoa, let's think ahead here. We could get a 2026 first round pick. First round pick probably, if we play our cards right. Cards right next year. We could do that, and we'll have 2 first round picks in 2026, getting us to best of both worlds. Because if we could probably trade up with those picks and get the guy get those best guys like Archie Manning or whatever, or we could or we could stay where we are if it's in the top 5 and get him. Like, I am down for us to not get a quarterback in this draft class. I'm down because everyone is right. The QB class is not that great. It's not that great. There's a couple of them that could be good, but do you really want to take a chance? Take a chance on that after the couple chances that we had? But I'm like, bro, next year we know there's some ballers in that draft class. Let's wait. Let's make sure that we have two in that class, 2 first rounders to get everybody in that one to get the best chance to get the best guy.
Sal, I like the mentality for sure, but I certainly think there's a way the Jets could do this. In the sense of they don't need to trade back this year in order to ensure themselves getting trying to land a franchise quarterback in next year's draft. I think they could do it. Let's say I'm making it up. The Jets are the 12th overall pick. They have a few day 2 picks. They have a few day 3 picks. You package those together, try to get into the top 5, top 10. Obviously, I mean, there's so much that could happen from now until the 2025 NFL draft in a few months. I mean, let alone what could happen in 2026. I mean, so much can happen.
Yeah, so much could happen.
Yeah. I like the mentality for sure, but I would
right.
I think if they were to trade back, the picks would come in this year.
What would be the quarterback that you would go after in that draft class? To me, it's that guy from South Carolina because he gives me a lot of Steve McNair. That's the guy from Tennessee. South Carolina is the guy like Seller or something, because he gives me a little bit. He gives me a little bit of Steve McNair vibes.
Sellers, Lenore.
Yeah, okay. He gives me a little bit of Steve McNair, and what I mean by that is he's gonna be a dog. Like, he's gonna be going to give his all for a team. He's gonna give his all for a team. Whatever draft him. Because I watched because I was that type of kid. I watched some highlights and stuff of players. Whenever you see a Steve McNair highlight, he is always running forward, getting every single inch.
Okay, I'm not too familiar with him. My number one, my 2 options I'd say as of now from next year, the 2 guys I know the most about, who I'd really like, Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback out of LSU, and Drew Aller from Penn State. I'm big on those 2 guys for next year.
Because I'm just thinking like if we want, because like with Aaron Glenn said, he wants a winner. He wants a winner. Yep. He wants a mentally tough guy. I think Seller is a mentally tough guy who will give his all for Aaron Glenn, and that's the type of quarterback I think he would love to get. Love to get. Like, here's the thing: I am okay with every quarterback he get from that draft class because I feel like there's so many ballers. It's gonna be hard to mess that one up. Like, if we mess this one up, then we're totally cursed. If we
I
mess
agree.
this one
I
up,
think this
like,
yeah, they have to hit on these next few draft
yeah,
picks, and this team should be in the playoffs the next few
yeah.
years. Lay Sal, appreciate you calling in as
Peace, man.
always. Any final thoughts?
Um, uh, the Nets are gonna get one of the guys from Rutgers. I guarantee it. They're gonna get one of the guys from Rutgers
Lay
with our
Sal,
pick. The Nets are going
checking in.
to, bro.
Yep, for sure. Great stuff as always, Lay Sal. Thank you for calling in. Appreciate your support. Lay Sal's in our Discord. Please join our Discord down below. Super fun Jets conversations in there as always. So join that if you haven't already, completely free of charge. Then check out our merch store. A lot of fun stuff there. I threw the poll up again for the second show. Should I do an NFL draft watch party with a ton of guests? 100% of you say yes. All 25 of you, please vote there. I'm planning a huge NFL watch party here on this channel with so many guests. Any specific guests you want to see? Well, join our Discord. Throw it in the Discord or throw it in the chat right now. I would love to hear what you guys have to say here. Last chance to call into the show if you'd want to by clicking the pinned comment in the chat. And then last chance to get your comments, questions, thoughts here on the show. Before we wrap up, again, please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Please, 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 completely free of charge. Helps us grow so much in the world. If you guys can just go ahead and click that subscribe button, please check if you haven't done so already. Like, share, and subscribe. Free way to contribute. We greatly appreciate it. Let's see. Caden says Joe Namath. We'll try Joe. We'll try Joe Willie. That's a hard one, but we'll try Joe Willie. Jeffrey R says I want Dom C. He's a great talent evaluator. We could certainly get Dom on our draft party. I would love to have Dom. So yeah, Dom's an interesting one. Any guest suggestions? Join our Discord, please. Throw it in there or throw it in the chat. And I want to hear what you guys have to say. Throw it in the chat if you guys have any thoughts off the top of your head right now. And we'll think. Please vote at the top of the chat if you haven't already. 11 of you voted. Please. Caden says Adam Sandler is a Jets fan too. I would do anything to have Adam Sandler on the show. One of, if not my favorite actor ever. I just don't think he's coming on here. Lane, I appreciate you tuning in, but I don't think Aaron Glenn's coming on the show either. Think content creators, think analysts, think former players. Jeffrey says Bill Parcells maybe. Funny enough, I actually reached out to Bill Parcells not too long ago to have him on the show. He wrote me back, and then we just lost contact. Like, for example, I reached out to him. I reached out to his camp. They wrote me back. I wrote him in his camp. They probably wrote me back like a month or two later. Then I reached back out to kind of follow up. And then I didn't get anything back. That was about last year, so can't hurt to try again. I would love to have the great Bill Parcells here on the program for sure. Let's see. Sco, Connor, do you think the Lakers and Nets can make a trade? I mean, if the Lakers want to go ahead and they want to do anything they can to get Nick Claxton, that's showing their all-in mentality after acquiring freaking Luka Doncic the other night. The thing is, what is Nick Claxton's value after signing that huge extension? What is his value? What's Nick Claxton's value on this extension here? What does that look like? Because, is it a few picks? Are we talking about maybe a guy on a two-way plus a pick or two? You bring in another veteran, maybe? Like, what is his value? That's the massive question I'm asking here. Jeffrey says Joe Klecko. Again, I've heard back from Joe Klecko, too. We'll try to get him on the draft show. Jimmy says reach out to Herm. I'll definitely reach out to Herman Edwards. Great Jets coach. Bill Parcells wrote you back. That's like John Lennon writing back. Yeah, I was very, very surprised that he wrote me back. Him and his team. Jeffrey R says Marty Lyons, great friend of the show. We've had him on before. Check out that interview under the video sections. Him and his foundation, though, do a draft party in person. So I would be surprised if he was able to come on. Darrell Revis is another one he doesn't do too many podcasts, though. That's another thing. It's a problem. Klecko. Some more ones. Thank you for the suggestions. I'll appreciate it. I'll definitely look into those for sure. I appreciate you tuning in. Another show in the book. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. An hour-long show thanks to you guys. You guys are the best. best listeners in the whole world. Like, share, and subscribe. Please, please, please join the Discord. Check out the merch store down below. You guys are the best. Follow me at @MyFlyJetStuck. Subscribe here on YouTube, at Twitter, and on Twitter at Connor_15. Tyler Warren, New York Jets. We'll see. Still, a few months until the NFL draft, but the talks are already heating up. That'll do it for me. I'm your host, Connor Long, signing off here on this Monday evening. As always, JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.